I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight. It is definitely my honor to welcome you all to the 11th Annual Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation Hall of Fame Induction Celebration. This is a great crowd here. Actually, look around. This is one of the top 3 largest crowds that we've had since we started this about 11 years ago, and it's great to see everybody here, so give yourselves a round of applause for being here. I'm Kane, Farabaugh. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a TV correspondent for Voice of America, and I'm a very proud graduate of this high school in 1995, and I currently serve as the vice president of the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation. You'll see, before we begin, I just want to point out, we're going to have an opportunity for you to buy some raffle tickets, and you might be able to win one of the signed and framed prints of Ottawa High School by the local artist Charles Funk. My colleague, Courtney Kaufman, will be circulating around the tables. If you haven't had a chance to buy some of those raffle tickets now, you'll be able to do that throughout the dinner. We're going to draw the winner before the evening is over, before we go over to the auditorium. So you'll have a chance to do that as the night progresses. Tickets are $5 for $1, 3 for $5, 3 for $10, and all the proceeds will benefit the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation. Okay. Thank you again. It's an honor for me to be here tonight in front of so many talented and accomplished men and women. I want to take a moment here, and I want to ask those of you who are in the crowd tonight who are Ottawa Township High School Hall of Fame members, could you please stand? Thank you all for making our school proud and for being here tonight to welcome more members into the club. We've been doing this Hall of Fame ceremony now for 11 years, and if you step out into the hallway just outside the cafeteria, you can see the plaques to all of the nominees that are now represented in our proud history, just as more will join that legacy here tonight. Because we've been doing this for a while, we do have some statistics we've managed to compile here. On the walls outside, you will see representatives from 13 decades of Ottawa High School's history. 16 of those are graduates from the 1950s. 16 of them are from the 1960s. 10 of them are football or basketball teams, including the 1995 to 1996 Ottawa Township High School football team, who will join those ranks tonight. 2 years ago, we had the honor of inducting the first representative from the 2000s into the Hall of Fame, so either that makes you feel really old or really young, depending on where you fall on that side of the equation there. But I do get excited when the press release about the yearly inductees comes out, because it means to me that I'll learn something new or profound about people I might have never met before, and then something different about those that I do know. And it reinforces to me and all of us here how the legacy of Ottawa Township High School and its graduates filters throughout the nation and the world. That legacy includes, among our inductees here tonight, one of our school's finest athletes who turned a passion for sports into a passion for teaching and coaching and inspiring thousands. A computer scientist and mathematician who works on the cutting edge of this nation's technological research. A humanitarian that has helped thousands in this state seek safety and refuge from violence and suffering. A teacher, mentor, storyteller, and inspiration to many who have passed through his classroom. A prominent and accomplished architect whose legacy lives on throughout numerous buildings in the state of Illinois, and indeed right here on the grounds of our very own high school. Every one of our honorees, though now from different parts of the country and indeed the world, have something obviously in common: this high school. And it is here we wish to honor their success and contributions, so that graduates yet to be can look up at the Hall of Fame plaques that you will see outside this cafeteria and know that once you leave here, there is opportunity, adventure, promise, and success yet to come, using the tools and the knowledge gained within the walls and halls of this institution. The Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation is a part of the community, helping prepare those students for the life and adventure that awaits them. It's my pleasure to introduce you tonight to Wayne Fleming, president of the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation Board, who's going to talk a little bit more about our mission. Wayne?
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome on behalf of the foundation again. Established in 1993, the Ottawa Township High School District 140 Educational Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit private foundation that secures and channels private funds to support and promote the educational programs and activities of OTHS students. Through generous donations, the foundation provides grants to purchase new equipment, promote innovative teaching initiatives, and augment scholastic resources beyond the fiscal constraints of the school's normal operation. The foundation has provided approximately $350,000 in such grants and other support to date. In addition to ensuring that our students are exposed to the most relevant and ever-changing technology and other educational resources, the foundation is responsible for the Courtyard Project outside Kingman Gymnasium, the Hall of Fame, and Student of the Month. Our hope is that through additional contributions and growth, the foundation can continue making an impact on OTHS and the students of the district. One might ask why a public entity such as Ottawa Township High School needs assistance from a private foundation that is independent from the high school itself. The fact is that Illinois ranks relatively low among states in direct funding for its schools. Yet the majority of the more than 2 million students that currently attend Illinois public schools will stay to live and work in Illinois throughout their adult lives. The economic vitality, future growth and development, and quality of life that we all share will be impacted by this demographic reality. We believe that assisting in the pursuit of educational excellence not only enriches the lives of today's students, but also impacts our communities and collective future as well. The Hall of Fame was established by the foundation to inspire and acknowledge excellence and achievement, be it academic, the fine arts, athletics, or other distinguished achievements. In highlighting the accomplishments of inductees, we believe that current students will be inspired by the standard of excellence and accomplishment achieved by their predecessors. And therefore, we will better foster a culture of excellence and achievement. We are very pleased that the 2017 group of inductees establishes a high standard of excellence for those who follow. It is difficult to categorize our inductees into single disciplines because their accomplishments consistently exhibit excellence in a variety of endeavors. The interconnectedness of tonight's inductees is remarkable, with Ottawa Township High School as the consistent, enduring accomplishment. We congratulate you all on your induction and achievements, and thank you for the examples that you have set. We are proud of what you have meant to Ottawa Township High School and look forward to your induction this evening. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Wayne. And you all can be a part of our educational foundation. Even tonight, all you need to do is buy a raffle ticket, and one lucky person will walk away with something more than just a donation tonight. So you can do that during dinner. Courtney will be walking around, and you'll be able to buy those tickets. Thanks, Wayne. I'd like to now introduce retired LaSalle County Regional Superintendent, Mr. Rich Myers, who's going to lead us in our invocation. Rich?
Good evening. Please bow your heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity you have given us this evening to honor the recipients of these outstanding awards. We are grateful for the talents and the gifts you have bestowed upon these individuals and for their desire and determination to use these gifts in such a positive way. We give thanks for their family members and for the educators who help to influence their lives with encouragement and guidance. We are grateful for the food we are about to receive and for the chance to celebrate this evening together. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
So Alexis is going to help me draw the winner here. We actually did really well. We've got probably, a couple hundred tickets here. So, we did this a couple of years, and there was one guy who actually only bought one ticket each consecutive year, and no kidding, he won it twice consecutively, 2 years in a row.
I didn't hear it.
I forget who it was, but is that person here tonight? Did he buy a ticket? Okay, so Alexis, are you ready to go? Okay, Jay Fisher. John Fisher. John Fisher, you're the winner of this print. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all for helping us out today. Thank you all for participating in the raffle. If you did not win the raffle, you can also purchase this. You can get one of these unframed. They're part of a limited edition of 300. They're $100 each, and all of the proceeds go to the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation. Thank you very much. When you come in town here off Interstate 80, you see a sign beneath the Ottawa City and Population sign. For those of you who live here, I'm sure that you're familiar with this. For those visitors who haven't been here for a while, it says home to the OTHS 2016 IHSA State Music Champions. In 2016, the OTHS music program achieved its 20th consecutive IHSA State Music Championship. It now has 21 total state championships under their belt. Guys, this is the second most successful music program in IHSA history. 21 consecutive wins. We are fortunate tonight to be able to enjoy some of this award-winning music, courtesy of the Ottawa Township High School Clarinet Trio of Amy Vandervelde, Antonia Edwards, Freusland, and Lexia Terrell. They are under the direction of OTHS Band Director Andrew Jacoby. The trio is performing a piece they are currently working on for the Solo and Ensemble Contest in early March. It is titled Terzetto for Two Clarinets and Bass Clarinet by Joseph Haydn, arranged by Kevin Kaiserhot. That was a piece that the clarinet trio was preparing for the solo and ensemble contest. As the music department prepares for another state competition this spring, we are fortunate to have OTHS choir director Spencer Rockford here this evening, leading the OTHS Opus Choir, and they are going to perform the full version of the Ottawa Township High School song, Pep.
Yelling rah, 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 when you hear the chorus singing Ottawa, forth come our heroes facing their foes. When you see the team go crashing on, rushing on to victory, raise your voices loud and let it play for Ottawa. Marching onward, courage and strength we owe to you. To Ottawa may we ever be true in the life we may pursue. Each boy and girl ever loyal, each loyal heart beating true. In meeting, defeating, each task before us, 3 cheers will die for you. For us our high school days will all be o'er. To that standard faithful ever as of yore. We'll still remember your precepts true. When you see your sons and daughters striving on, rising on to great renown, then you'll know that we've been ever loyal. Marching onward, courage and strength we owe to you. To Ottawa may we ever be true in the life we may pursue. Each boy and girl ever loyal, each loyal heart beating true. In meeting, defeating, each task before us, 3 cheers will die for you.
Okay, how many of you actually know all the words to that song? Raise your hand. I didn't hear you singing, though. That's the problem. Thank you guys very much. That was the Opus Choir, OTHS Opus Choir, under the direction of Spencer Rockford. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this portion of the festivities tonight. I invite you all now to make your way over to the auditorium for part 2 of our 2017 Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Again, on behalf of District 140, congratulations to the nominees, and we welcome them to the OTHS Hall of Fame. And at this time, I will bring Kane back to begin tonight's induction ceremony.
During this 139th year of Ottawa Township High School, I welcome all of you to our 11th annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The Hall of Fame induction provides a unique opportunity to honor those selected. Considered for recognition and selection are individuals, OTHS teams, and OTHS groups. The focus of the Hall of Fame is to recognize excellence in achievement while a high school student after leaving Ottawa Township High School, or a combination of both. Honorees may or may not have attended Ottawa Township High School, but are significant and accomplished contributors to the school and society. I'm honored this evening to have the opportunity to recognize a very special group of 5 individuals and 2 teams. Inductees were selected by way of a 3-tiered selection process. All are certainly very worthy of the honor, as all affected the lives of many with their numerous accomplishments. The central plaque on the 400th floor wall, where all of the Hall of Fame inductees plaques are located, describes the Hall of Fame. Each year we make it a point to read the following passage during the induction ceremony from the central plaque. In bold is the statement, from ordinary beginnings, many, through determination, commitment, effort, and high expectations, have accomplished the extraordinary. I would like to personally thank all of the inductees for their numerous contributions. You make us all proud to be a part of Ottawa Township High School. But tonight's ceremony is about the inductees, so it's time for us to hear from them or their respective representative. I will introduce each inductee or the representative, ask that they say a few words, and present them with their Hall of Fame plaque. Our first inductee this evening is Mr. Ryan Nevins. Ryan was a standout athlete and later teacher and coach at Ottawa Township High School. He was a captain of the 1995 to 1996 football team. His rushing yards and points scored that year placed him second all-time in each category. He was fourth all-time in career rushing yards and set a school rushing record. He was a sprinter on the 800-meter relay, setting a school record and qualifying for state, and he placed in the top 8 in the IHSA swim meet 5 times during his swimming career, before swimming for the University of Missouri, lettering all 4 years. He was a passionate teacher, encouraging his students to be independent thinkers and creative writers. Please join us in honoring Mr. Ryan Nevins and welcoming his wife, Ricky Nevins, who will accept the award on his behalf.
Thank you to the Hall of Fame Nomination Committee. It is my honor to accept this award on Ryan's behalf. Ryan was a lot of things to a lot of people. I was blessed to be with him for over 20 years. And although I am not a pirate, I did not attend OHS, I've heard every story under the sun. Ryan rehashed the glory days of the 1995 football team often, though even telling the stories to me or our 2 kids, he still gave all the credit to his teammates. He has instilled in both of our kids the importance of being modest, but also being a leader. It's not an easy thing to do, but Ryan made it look effortless. He loved being a pirate. I knew him as a swimmer. We were both teammates at the University of Missouri, and it amazed me that Ryan was a 3-sport athlete in high school and didn't specialize the way the rest of us did. I saw video of him playing football. I watched him run marathons after college. He was just a natural athlete. Once, when my son Whit was about 8 years old, he was riding his bike down the street and he made the mistake of looking back at Ryan and saying, "You can't catch me, old man." Even though Ryan was wearing khakis and those funny Tom's shoes at the time, he caught up to Whit in about 2 seconds flat. I've never seen another human move that fast before. He would have hated all this fuss. And not that he wouldn't have been honored, but that this isn't Ryan's style. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention what I think is his greatest legacy at OHS, and that is him as a teacher. Ryan often said to me, "The day I don't love teaching is the day I will quit." He honestly loved being a teacher. And like everything in life, he was damn good at it. I have a few quotes from former students that I would like to share, if you will indulge me for a minute. This is from one of his recent students. "Mr. Nevins made every student feel important. No matter who you were, he would make up a stupid nickname for you, play your favorite songs, knowing that if you ever had a rough day, it would brighten your mood. He showed my class that it was important to have good grades, but it was much more important to be a good person." A second student said, "Ryan, as a teacher, undoubtedly had a profound impact on the path I find myself on today. He always brought an unbreakable joy to everything that he did. Throughout his career, he carried the fire and ignited within each one their passions. For some, this passion was literature, poetry, and a greater appreciation for the arts. For others, this passion was finance or construction or nursing. That's what was so special about him, that he knew all of his students' fires burned differently. Not everyone was going to love literature as much as him, and for them, their passions were still developed and flourished in his class. One might be tempted to say that Ryan no longer carries this fire, but I look at my peers, my other teachers, and everyone else that knew him, each of us carrying our own fires. Each of us carrying a fire which burns because of the impact Ryan had on our lives. Each of us striving to live up to his ideals and ignite the fire in others. Obviously, his students were much more eloquent than I am. The last student said, and I quote, "My favorite quote about education comes from Jim Henson. Kids don't remember what you teach them, they remember who you are." To be honest, I don't remember receiving much direct instruction from Ryan. I remember his laugh, I remember his messy handwriting, I remember his weird fashion sense and his playful insults, his loyalty, and that stupid face he would make every time someone tried to take his picture. I remember the classroom feeling like home. Ryan lived each day to the fullest. He put his heart and soul into everything that he did, and in the process touched many lives. All of us are better for having crossed his path. Thank you for honoring him with this award.
Our second individual inductee is Dr. Phillip Roth. Dr. Roth is a 1988 graduate of Ottawa Township High School. He earned his bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics from the University of Iowa, his master's degree in computer science from the University of Illinois, and his doctorate from the University of Wisconsin. Dr. Roth works in research and development at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the site of the world's fastest computer. He has authored numerous publications and presentations. Please welcome Dr. Phillip Roth.
Thank you for that kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. So, first of all, yes, I live in East Tennessee, and I've been there for 13 years, and so I apologize if a y'all might pop out of my mouth at some point during this. When I told people back home that I was traveling back to Illinois, and some would say, well, why are you going? And I told them. And a few of them said, well, you must be very proud. And I thought about that. It's not a question of being proud of myself. In thinking about it, I am proud, but I'm proud because of the faculty and staff of this school that I got to experience when I was here, and all of these folks that are on the stage with me got to experience when they were here. It's all being proud of the quality and the caring of the faculty and staff that we saw here. So I am a scientist, a computer scientist. As a scientist, I like to break things apart and organize them so that I can think about them. And so I'm going to just, in a few remarks here, I'm going to break it down into 4 categories: academics, sports, music, and service. So at ORNL, that's Oak Ridge National Laboratory, I'm really happy about a couple of the projects I'm working on right now. Let me just give you one sentence about both of them. One of them, we're studying, part of a team that's writing computer software that's going to study in a fusion reactor how the burning plasma inside that reactor interacts with the surface of the wall of the container that it's in. Another project I'm really interested in right now, we're writing some software that studies what's the effect when you store nuclear waste. What kinds of metals are the best kinds of metals to make the containers for that waste. When I think back on those projects and why I'm so excited about those and the other science that I'm involved with, I think back of how it's got its roots in the people that I experienced here at Ottawa High. So people like Ken Anderson, who was my biology teacher, and Lyle Gunther, and Bob Brew, and Bill Hamilton, and Jim Harris, my math teachers. And special thanks to Jim Harris for my nomination. So I'm sure you can tell in sports, I don't compete very much in sports anymore, but I do look back as I coach my son's soccer team. I think back about the things I learned from the coaches I had when I was here. I ran cross country, and Paul Smith was my cross country coach. Ron Slack, who's here tonight, was my track coach. He taught me how to sprint. Like this, right, Coach? And Wes Ferris was my longtime swimming coach, and always support, no matter what. Wes Ferris gives you the support. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention Joan Yupst, who was my YMCA swim coach for many, many years. I take the lessons that they taught about it being more important to develop the player as opposed to who wins the match to my team as I try to coach those kids right now. So earlier tonight we heard some music from a couple clarinets. I played clarinet when I was in high school. And it served me really well because when I went into college, I wanted to go to all the football games for free. So I got in the marching band and played clarinet in the marching band. And that actually paid off pretty well because it let me go to 3 bowl games, and I got to march in the Rose Bowl and march in the Rose Parade. That was a lot of fun. I don't pick up the clarinet that much anymore, but I do play drums and bass. So I am bass guitar. So I am still doing some things with music. And as I do those things, I still look back to high school and the musicianship, the things that I learned from Mike Peterson when he was my band director here about striving to be the best musician that you can be. And Sarah Reckmeyer, who's a Hall of Fame member at Shepherd Junior High before that. And I saw Roger Am earlier today. I used to get pulled in sometimes to sing in some of the competition choir groups with him, and he was so supportive of those of us who weren't necessarily choir folks and letting us kind of crash his party. But I also want to say, someone else who's up here on the stage, one of the things I learned from Bill Myers and Harry Adrian is even though you're striving to be the best musician you can be, it's all right to fail. And it's all right sometimes to maybe even look a little bit foolish for a good cause. I learned some great things, and my daughter would have loved his course, and definitely the Fine Arts Festival. So in service, Chuck Hearn was director of the Key Club, faculty sponsor of the Key Club when I was here, and his son Doug was a role model for me on the cross-country team and swimming and in the Key Club. So as I do things now, like helping to organize a really large supercomputing conference every year, or volunteering to teach soccer referee classes, I think back to that service and why I'm happy to devote my time so that those little ones, the little shorties, can have a good time playing soccer, or my colleagues can have a really, really productive computer science meeting. So yes, I am proud to be inducted into the Ottawa Township High School Hall of Fame. I thank everyone who was involved. Mr. Harris, again, thank you for the nomination. Thank you to my wife and kids who keep me grounded. Thank you to my parents for their constant sacrifice and unwavering support. Thank you to the foundation and especially the selection committee for selecting me, and I thank you for your attention. Good evening.
Our third individual inductee this evening is Christine Tina Sipula. A graduate of OTHS in the class of 1971, Ms. Sipula is a humanitarian, founding the Clare House in Bloomington, Illinois, for women fleeing domestic abuse, which later transitioned to a refuge for homeless women and children and a food pantry. She also founded the Loaves and Fishes Soup Kitchen, which has provided 120 to 160 meals each week since opening. In 2015, the city of Bloomington proclaimed Tina Sipula Day in honor of her contributions to community health and well-being. Please join us in honoring Ms. Tina Sipula.
I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for selecting me, Dick Reimers, my classmate, for nominating me, those who wrote letters on my behalf, and I'd like to thank especially my family, my friends and teachers and classmates for being here tonight. I was blessed at a very young age to know I was meant to work with the poor, the disadvantaged, and those less fortunate. Why I knew that is another whole speech, so you'll have to catch me later. I grew up in a very large family. We didn't have much. We were pretty poor, but we always had enough to share. So I have our parents to thank for teaching me to always be hospitable to everyone and to treat others with a sense of dignity and grace. Marcia Nelson, who is 88 years old, was my campfire leader when I was a little girl, and then she became my homeroom teacher here at Ottawa High. Marcia taught me many things, but mostly she taught me compassion. The summer before I entered high school, I was only 14 years old, and my oldest brother, Steve, was killed in a horrific car accident. Marcia was one of the first people to come and sit by my side that next day. She sat with me in her quiet strength and with her loving heart. And when our classmate Marcy Chalice died unexpectedly, it was Marcia who came and sat vigil at the funeral home. I've called upon Marcia's strength and spirit many times when I knew it was not important what I said in dark times. What is important, I learned from Marcia, is to show up and be there when you're needed. B.J. Moose was my choir director here at Ottawa High, and he's going to be 90 years old soon. He lives in Minnesota, and I've been up there to visit him many times, and we often talk on the phone. My senior year, right before graduation, I was in a terrible car accident. I broke my back, and I was paralyzed for a few days. One of the first people to come and see me in the hospital in Aurora was B.J. Moose. That summer, I ended up in a plaster body cast, unable to go on the choir trip, unable to do my lifeguard job, but B.J. gave me a job in the office filing music. This was the summer he helped me to see God with new eyes, to move beyond my anger, and to learn to accept life on life's terms with a hope and understanding I had never known before. Dick Clark was one of my English teachers, as was his wife Nancy. And one day, Mr. Clark asked me to stay after class. "Just stay in your seat," he said, and he threw my paper down on the desk. I was terrified. I had no idea what I'd done wrong. He said, "Listen, I want you to remember this if you remember nothing else in your 4 years here. You are a good writer," he said. "I want you to experience everything you can in life. If someone asks you to go somewhere, go. If somebody asks you to do something, do it. Do it and write about it. Say yes to everything. Travel, meet people, feel everything, and don't be afraid to live. Just don't hurt yourself or anyone else." And so I did. I took the road less traveled, as Robert Frost penned. And along the way, I was blessed with hundreds of homeless people. Homeless people I took into my own home, and these people taught me tenacity in the face of hopelessness, faith when there was seemingly nothing to cling to, and gratefulness for the simplest of life's gifts. I spent 40 years living and working with the homeless, the broken, those who are cast away by society. And I did all of this with an incredible team of volunteers, people who will remain friends of mine for the rest of my life, for no one can do this work alone, and no one can do it without becoming changed. I never thought I would marry, and this happened to me late in life. For who would want me, who lived and worked with the poor? But one day, this incredible man walked into my life, volunteered to take the door to hand out food, and he was smitten with the work, but he was smitten with me too. Alas, he fell in love with not only me, but with many of the people we served. One day, we were driving down the street near the house, stopped at the stop sign, and down the street staggered Stanley. Stanley is one of our street guys who travels around the neighborhood, goes through the dumpsters and collects cans, and he's often quite under the influence. I rolled down the window. I said, "Stanley, you better behave today." He looked into the window. "Oh, Tina," he said, "I love you. I want to marry you." I said, "Stanley, this is my husband, Bob. We just got married." Oh, he staggered back, reached into his pocket, pulled out a wad of ones, shoved them at Bob and said, "I I want to pay for your divorce. We all need a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a place where we can go and feel at home. Thomas Wolfe wrote, "You can't go home again," but he did not know this home. He did not know our small, wonderful town of Ottawa. Thank you for welcoming me home again. Thank you for welcoming me with open arms.
Our fourth individual inductee is Mr. Earl Gerding. Mr. Gerding was a prominent and accomplished architect, designing many buildings throughout the state of Illinois and the Ottawa area. His projects included the Illinois State Museum in Springfield, the Community Hospital of Ottawa, the Police and Fire Station in Ottawa, Reddick Library, and the Shannon Building right here at OHS, among others. He was a 1938 graduate of OTHS. Please join me in honoring Mr. Gerding and welcoming his daughter, Jan Gerding, who will accept the award on his behalf.
As you can see, I'm not Earl Gerding, but I knew him very well. And he was a very modest person. He would say, "Oh, don't make this fuss about me," but I know he would be pleased. When I think of my dad, I think of two things. I think of architecture and photography. He was a lifetime Ottawan, and I think his life, his boyhood in this town affected him for the rest of his life. He was a typical Midwestern boy, sort of a Huck Finn type of thing, playing in the woods. I mean, even on the east side, he used to play all the time. And he became a Boy Scout. And the Boy Scouts, for some reason, he really took to very well, and he understood their values. Because I've always thought of him as courteous and service-oriented. And he started, he is an architect, but he started his love for photography early on. He got a prize at a birthday party, a 5th birthday party of a friend of his, and it was a camera. So he got into photography that way. His father even built him a darkroom in the house. He just had an idyllic boyhood, but he did get in a bit of trouble when the boys in the neighborhood started a BB gun war. Back then, no one thought about having kids with guns. That was fine. Someone called the police, and they came and loaded all the boys into the paddy wagons, which back then they did have paddy wagons, and took them down to the station. The police didn't arrest them or anything, but they called the parents, and the parents had to come and get them. And of course, there were a lot of unhappy people that night, but there was no more BB gun wars. He was a member of the class of 38 here at Ottawa High School. And while he was here, he got into scouts. He was a scout, a Sea Scout, an Eagle Scout, and he also belonged to the ROTC. I don't know much about what he was like here, but he did like Boy Scouts, all that I know of. He attended University of Illinois, the School of Architecture. And because he had been in ROTC in high school, the ROTC at college sent him to the cavalry, because at that time they still had horses. And that was like 1939. And he hated it because in the morning they had to go and take care of the horses and go riding. And all day long he said he smelled like a horse. And then he met my mother at Illinois, who was also an architecture teacher, or student, and she helped him pass his French class, because he was very bad in French. They married before he was called up for service in World War II. He said he told my sister he wanted to go to Europe, even, to be stationed there, because he wanted to see all the architecture he learned about in the class. But instead he was sent to all the other side of the world. It's Okinawa, when it was still being liberated by the Allies. So he went there in the Corps of Engineers, and he was responsible, they were responsible for making airstrips and cleaning up stuff. And he said that's when he learned to smoke, because they always had guard duty and they had to walk around the premises of the thing. And if you had a lit cigarette, your men won't shoot at you. But if you were not lit up, they think, well, this could be the enemy, and they might have gotten shot. He returned to Ottawa and worked for his uncle, Uncle Louis. We always know him as Uncle Louis. And then he started his own business. He worked on numerous projects, which have been listed in like churches, houses, hospitals, the Scout Museum, and Central School, which I don't think is around anymore, and of course Shannon, part of the building. But there's a little thing that he did that nobody else probably knows about. It was during the Cold War, when everybody was afraid of the bomb. So he was sent down for a little class down at Illinois, and when he came back, he had, his territory was to go around all the area in this county and find places that would be good for a fallout shelter, a bomb shelter basically. So if you see those signs, the circle signs with the yellow and black things on, he might have been responsible for those being hung there. And he also, of course, because of his scouting thing, it's like a service thing, he did a lot of community service. He did 50 years, he was a 50-year member of Kiwanis. And up to the last couple of years, he was active selling peanuts in front of Walmart. He was a Boy Scout. He helped at the Campfire Girls. Now, he wasn't a Campfire Girl. He helped out with the Camp Tuckabatchee when they would open up for the season. He also belonged to a camera club in Chicago and a camera club or a photography club in Streeter. He traveled a lot of road trips with my mother. He took pictures wherever he went. In fact, I can remember my fuse was, hold still, I'm getting the camera ready, hold still. So I am familiar with having to hold still. But he did take pictures all the time, but there was one thing he did that was a little scary, because he would break the law. He would go and place, he loved Frank Lloyd Wright, who was the famous architect at that time. I think some of you might know him. And he just loved his buildings. And he would get out of the car, we'd be in the car, and he'd get out of the car with his camera, and he'd be walking down into a no trespassing or private property thing, and just go walking in. And all the time we'd be sitting there, is he going to get arrested or not? But he always came back, and he came back with great pictures. He has his body of work in photography is amazing. I worked as an art director in Chicago, and I saw many professional portfolios of photographers, and he is as good as many of them that I saw. So we were all quite proud of him, and he probably has shown slides. When he retired, he started showing slides to different organizations all around the city. I mean, I can't even count how many he did. But so it was the architecture and photography, but he really got into the cameras, collecting cameras. And the reason he started was because his wife, my mom, went to an auction with it. She would go to the auction with Jean Poole and my aunt Donna, was Carrie's mother, and some other people, Patty and my other aunt, and they would go to these auctions. Well, my mom saw this camera, and she just said, well, that's what he'd like to have. So that's what he got. She bid on it, she got it. So those cameras multiplied like rabbits until they filled the whole room. He had a whole room full of cameras, plus things in the storage and things in the shed, all over the place. He lived a long time. He almost made 97, but He had a long life doing what he enjoyed doing. And he was able to stay at home all the time with the help of my brother Jim and his wife Donna and a couple of helpers during the week. And he also enjoyed the generosity of his church members and his neighbors. He happily printed out photos until the end. And he thanks you for honoring him in this way.
Our final individual inductee of the evening is Mr. William Myers. Mr. Myers taught at OTHS for 28 years and overall for 43 years. He founded the OTHS Fine Arts Festival and is well known in the region as the Star of Rock storyteller. Mr. Myers was a finalist for the Illinois State Board of Education Teacher of the Year designation and was featured nationwide as Teacher of the Month on an educational television station. He has hosted his own radio program and authored a weekly newspaper column. It's my personal honor, and all of us should join us in honoring Mr. William Myers.
Thank you. I'm deeply honored to be here tonight. When Sue McDonald called me and told me congratulations, I said, what for? And she told me about the Hall of Fame deal, and I just started crying. It touched my heart so much. And I started thinking, when I interviewed for an English job, a friend of mine who was taking over the football program I coached with before, I was teaching in Davenport, Iowa, and he said, there's an English job open, and I want you to coach football with me. And I wanted to come back to Illinois, be closer to my family. So I interviewed, and with Mr. Nelson, the principal then, and Gordon Fiddler, and they offered me the job. And I remember Gordon Fiddler, the superintendent, behind the counter in the main office, saying, young man, said, we're hiring you first as an English teacher and then as a football coach. And I said, sir, I said, that's what I am. I am an English teacher who just happens to coach football on the side. But I thanked him. In fact, I lit up a red Auerbach cigar, the old coach for the Celtics, when they had a game in the, won. He lit up a victory cigar, and I smoked a victory cigar when I drove up to Earlville to tell my mom and dad I was going to be teaching at Ottawa High School. And then that first year, I went in the spring to Mr. Nelson, the principal, and I said, Mr. Nelson, I'd like to start a fine arts festival at Ottawa High School next year. And he said, what exactly is a fine arts festival? And I said, well, I don't exactly know. I said, but I had this idea that I'd like to celebrate, humanity's creativity and the arts themselves. And I'll be forever eternally grateful to Ralph Nelson for his support. And I had to fight a few teachers, some of the traditional teachers. I had to fight because they thought their classroom and their subject matter was more important than some kind of carnival going on down here in the auditorium. But after a while, they realized what we had going here, and that the kids plugged into it, and that it was educational and helped us grow. And I didn't realize it at the time that I was hired, because I was a young gung-ho teacher with fire in the belly, and I thought I could solve all the problems of public education in America. And so I locked horns with Mr. Jim Harris, who was a phenomenal teacher. Mel Roth, I think he taught arithmetic, just like his son has a doctorate in arithmetic. All these people, Bev Madsen, who taught cooking classes, she produced some phenomenal cooks, one being my son-in-law over at a Casamia restaurant, and they played. And these teachers, the older I got, I realized that I had joined a Hall of Fame faculty here at Ottawa High School when I joined it in 1973. There were a few knuckleheads on the staff, and I'm sure they called me something too. But overall, we had a tremendous faculty at Ottawa High School. They loved teaching, and they loved their subject matter, knew their subject matter, and taught it from bell to bell. They didn't give free time to kids. They worked, and they gave their lives to this place and to this school. And I really have a lot of respect and admiration for the great teachers that I've taught with. I remember after a while, a couple board members approached me. No, I wasn't in trouble with the board, although occasionally I was. But Vince Lyons, God rest his soul, and Doc Armstrong, God rest his soul, they said, we have an opening coming up as a assistant principal, and we'd like, why don't you apply to be assistant principal and maybe work your way up to be principal of Ottawa High School? Whoa! And I went home and I shared that with my Barb, and she just looked at me and started laughing. She said, "Dear," she said, "you belong in the classroom." And my heart told me that anyway. You know, if I would have gone the route of being an administrator, I would have been fired or assassinated in about less than a month. I know that. The last time I had lunch with Ryan Nevins, he was my student, and we flew out to Ricky and Ryan's wedding out in Montana years back, and we became really close friends, and I was so proud when he became an English teacher. But we were having lunch down at Berta's one day before he got really, really sick. It was the last time I had lunch with him, and we were talking. We got talking about his football team, and I told him, I said, I really believe that football team in 1995 was the greatest football team that Ottawa High School has ever fielded on King Field, and I really believe that with all my heart. And it was, that Mount Carmel game on the frozen turf. I can't believe that we couldn't use our speed to beat them because we should have. Anyhow, we were talking about the team, and I told him what I thought about that football team, and I said, I taught an awful lot of you guys in my English classroom, and one of the unique traditions of Ottawa High School is some of our best athletes were also top-notch in the classroom. And that's been a tradition at Ottawa High School that I really loved and respected. Now, I told Ryan at the time, I said, I taught a bunch of those guys. They were great athletes. They were good guys. I said, but there were a few knuckleheads that didn't put forth much of an effort in the classroom. It's the only time in our relationship with Nevins and me that he fired up on me. He said, Myers, he said, I don't give up. Blankety blank. What those guys did in your classroom. He said, I don't give a blankety blank. He said, they were the best teammates that I've ever had. He said, and I love those guys. He said, they put all effort that they had out on the field. And he said, I love those guys, and they were great teammates, and I don't give a rip what they did in your English class. So, I love Ryan, and I love you guys, but I disagree with him on that point. I think you're student first, student athlete, student comes first. But I salute you guys. Just great, great players and people. And coaches. Tim, you did a magnificent job, just not here at Ottawa High School, but now your younger brother, Tom, and you are carrying on your teaching tradition, or coaching, and you teach through coaching about football and about life and how to be man. And you're doing that, and I think that's why the good Lord put you and Tom on earth for your life's work, to do that. And you're doing it into your retirement, and that's the way it should be. I salute you for that. I think my Bart told me, you were put on this earth to teach in the classroom, and I'm glad I stuck to that. I was just so deeply honored to be given this opportunity, or this great honor, because I love Ottawa High School and I love the community of Ottawa. I had great teachers all my life, just about. I could name every single teacher from first grade all the way up. College teachers, I could name the knuckleheads and the phonies, but for the most time, I had great teachers. Starting with my mom and dad up at Earlville, and my 3 brothers and 3 sisters. They were great teachers. My kids, I learned from my kids, believe it or not. So, I learned from my brother Goose painfully with a fist, knocking me through an upstairs window. Those are, I just can't thank them enough. And my 4 kids, and now my wife Marty has pushed me to keep on telling stories and keeping it short. So I do want to thank everybody out here for your support, and thank the good Lord for putting me on earth to teach English here at Ottawa, and I'm doing it. I did it for 10 years at Marquette because I love teaching, and I want to thank my students because they made my classroom special. It was easy. Everybody had to say something, contribute, either by asking a question or something. They had to contribute every day in the classroom. It was their classroom. So they wanted to get their 2 cents in before somebody beat them to it, and so I got paid for this kind of sitting. They taught the class. So thank you very much. I love Ottawa High School, and like I told every class, every day before they left my classroom, for years and years and years, they'd stop if I didn't say it. So I'm going to end it with that. Live a good life, you people. Thank you very much.
Please join us in honoring the 1967 to 1968 OTHS cross-country team, represented by Marvin Gronke, speaking on behalf of Coach Bob Anderson and team captain Jerry Couch.
Wow, what a night. Let me begin by thanking the Hall of Fame Committee for the award and honor for the 1967-68 cross-country team. As most of you know, Coach Anderson passed away about 3 weeks ago. He knew this honor was coming to this team and was proud to be associated with it. Coach Anderson was the teacher, the mentor, the coach, and the friend of those who worked with him and ran for him. Coach Anderson's family is here in the audience, and I would like for them to stand and be recognized. His wife Joan, his daughter Debbie, and his 2 sons, David and Gary. And I can't see out there where they are. Thank you very much for them. Before I start on the 67-68 cross-country team, I noticed in the gathering this evening that there are many ex-cross-country runners from the era that we are talking about, the mid to late 60s and maybe early 70s. And I thank you, gentlemen, for being here and supporting the 67-68 cross-country team. The 67-68 cross-country team, some of whom are here tonight, best exemplifies the quality of runners we had the pleasure to work with day in, day out, lots of weekends in the summertime. But they were fun to work with, and they were hard workers. When they came to us as freshmen, we could tell they were winners. Winners on the course and off. They compiled an outstanding record at the frost-off level, and that continued through their varsity years, as was indicated at the early introduction. Each of these young men helped set the standard for future OHS cross-country teams to aim for. Throughout the state, Ottawa Cross Country was a team to be reckoned with. We didn't win everything, but the level and quality of teams in competition increased dramatically, and Ottawa held its own. Yes, they were winners. It is with much appreciation that I thank each of them for their effort and their success. And now I'd like to turn it over to Jerry Couch, one of the 67-68 cross-country team members. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I get the honor of introducing our team, and before I do, I would like to say a couple things. And one, the last time we were on this stage was when I was a sophomore, and we just got back from the state finals, and we finished 5th in the school at honors, which was great. And another time we were in Riverside, Brookfield. We went up, and I think I was a sophomore then on the team, and we get up there, and we went to usually on Saturdays, we didn't have Saturdays off as kids to go do stuff. We were at, Coach Anderson and Gronke had us at major invitational somewhere throughout the state, and everybody was giving us a hard time. They wanted to know who Ottawa was. And they said, you know, where are you from, this or that. And when we left, they knew who Ottawa was. We had won the varsity, and there was 2 runners that Kurt Osby, Nick Valentino was 2 of the best in the state. And I just commenced button whipping on them and then broke their course record. And we won all 3 classes. We won the varsity, sophomore, and the open class. So they knew who Ottawa was. And but back in the at that time in the 60s, and there's a guy in the audience I'd like to call out his name, so I don't get mad at me, but become a good friend with him, who's Bob Hurst. He's the one that started most of this, and we appreciate it, Bob. And that team, and the 66 team that I got to be on as a freshman, but, and I appreciate everything that this school has done for our team, and we was thinking about watching the football team, and congratulations to those guys. I'd just like to ask them what one of the guys, did you know that, other than Tim and Pond, did you know the football school record, the team won and lost record from 66 to 69? The 4 years in Ottawa in the football team had only lost 1 game in 4 years, and we lost to, who was it? It was LP, 21-20. Brian Nelson fumbled down, and he was going in for a touchdown. He fumbled down inside the 10-yard line, and you guys had lost 1 game in 4 years. And I think maybe that team inspired our cross-country team to, you know, do what we did. I mean, we were a 10th in 4 years, a 10th, and then we went 5th, and 9th. So and we had some great athletes back then, and but I don't have much more to say other than I'd like to thank Danny Isles for all the work he's done for doing this for us in the committee, and just glad to be back to Ottawa High School.
Our final induction of the evening is the 1995 to 1996 OTHS football team. This team finished its regular season with a perfect 9-0 record, eventually finishing with 11 wins and 1 loss and a quarterfinal finish in the 5A Illinois High School Association playoffs. They won the NCIC Northeast Division title outright and outscored their opponents 148-38 during the season. Please join us in honoring the 1995 to 1996 OTHS football team, represented by head coach Tim Yupst and co-captains Tom Hart and Dan Leonhardt.
I remember that cross-country team. They ran more miles before the meets than the meet actually was. They worked really hard, and they were really tough kids. I always admired them and had a lot of fun with them. Now, if I can find my glasses here. On behalf of the team, myself, and the entire coaching staff, and the trainer, Joe Haywood, and by the way, what a gift he's been to our athletic program through the years. He's done a special thing for us. He's got a great program. I always consider the art displays, the art collection, Fine Arts Festival, and our training program as some of the real jewels of our school. And unless you're involved in athletics, you don't really understand what Joe does. So, thanks, Joe. Anyway, I'd like to thank the committee for this honor. As we all know, Ottawa High School has a long and rich football tradition. We used to talk to the kids about this great tradition and how it's so special to be part of the program. We're all just passing through this program. You get one shot at your high school years, you get one shot at your football career. So, it's a fleeting thing. And we would ask them to think about what kind of footprint do you want to leave? Look at the chart there. Which one of these teams do you want to be like? The one that won 9, 9, or some that may have struggled and won fewer. So that was a challenge for them. And how do they want to be remembered in the history of the football program? Well, with their hard work, their dedication, their talent, and their perseverance, and believe me, the point spread seems impressive, but there were some real struggles along the way. Those games didn't come easy. And they persevered through them and won those games. So there were some big, big challenges there. And because of this work and dedication and perseverance, this team earned its spot in Ottawa football history as one of the best to ever play here. It's really great to see you guys. It's amazing. A lot of them still look pretty much like they did in school. A little less hair, a little more waistline. Except for Kyle, he's now one of the smaller guys. So it's been great to see you. I'm really grateful that you've been given this honor. And I'm really proud to see the men that you've become. So, with that, congratulations, Earl Gerding.
Well, I echo what many of the inductees said. Thank you to the Hall of Fame committee. This is it's humbling. This is quite a privilege to be a part of. And I also want to say to those that spoke before, you serve as an inspiration, the teams and the individuals. So thank you very much. I was asked to speak, share some stories about the season, and I think a couple of us were talking that maybe it wouldn't be so appropriate to share some of those stories. I think we all agree it's probably a good idea that social media wasn't invented before '95. When I think of this season, there's several thoughts that I have. Number one, I think a couple of us echoed this last night at the basketball game, and we were just some young guys out there playing a game and having fun. And I still think maybe 20 years later, we still kind of feel that way. We don't necessarily understand the magnitude of what we did accomplish. But when I think about that season, I think about, it was a great mix of so many different things. Coach mentioned hard work. That was definitely something that our parents had instilled in us in a young age, and that carried over to the season. I think of an example of our all-state fullback who used to get up every morning in the summer and run on those cinders all by himself to prepare for that season. He was hungry, he was motivated. But I also think about some of the other some of the other ideas with that team. We had a lot of talent. The juniors that joined us as seniors had gone 18-0 for their freshman and sophomore year. They were extremely talented. A couple of them went on to play college football. And then a couple of us seniors were maybe not as athletic as some of the other guys, but you know, we were determined. We were guys who enjoyed the game. Some loved the game, but we also, you know, maybe brought a little bit of experience as a senior. And so several of those ingredients produced the product that we had. I also want to point out that we had a combination of coaching staff of, as Coach just mentioned, a great deal of history, and we knew from his heart when he spoke to us that history meant a lot to him. But we also had younger staff members who were eager young football coaches that you know, wanted to absorb everything and work with us. But the last thing that I think about that was so special that year was many of you. Ricky was telling our table tonight at dinner, after we graduated, she came back to visit Ryan and his family. She remembers seeing in a downtown store, so this would have been a year later, 11-0 written on a glass. And that community spirit was so motivating. It helped us get wrapped up in that moment. So that was such an important part to that mix for what we were able to accomplish. You know, the last thing I want to say, and I hope, Dan, I'm not stealing too much of what you were wanting to say. Guys, I was thinking the other day, we played 12 football games that year, and 7 of the 12 opponents were playoff football teams that year. You know, there's a lot of teams, since the playoff system, they just tried to win enough games to make the playoffs. But our schedule was awfully tough. 7 of our 12 opponents that year were playoff football teams. So, you know, it's an honor to speak. It's an honor to be that word teammate, and I thank you guys.
The first thing I want to do is I want to thank some of these players. As we were talking last night, I mean, there's some here from Virginia, Atlanta. It just shows the commitment to Ottawa High School and the football team, and thank you guys for that. That's something special. When Tom asked me to do this, I honestly wanted to say no. I have to correct Kane here. I was not a team captain. But then I began to think about who should be standing here, and I used to joke, just to make Ryan uncomfortable, that my role on the team was Ryan Nevins' backup, and he hated it. Like it drove him crazy. But it seems most appropriate tonight. Now, I don't know what this weekend means to all of you sitting here today. I'm sure it means something different to every one of you. I can only tell you what it means to me. And that is what I'll try to do, and that's what I'll try to do. Hopefully it helps some of you drop your guard and enjoy it a bit more. When football and then high school was over for me 20-some years ago, I moved on from it. It was over, and there was really no need to bring it up. I went to college, I met new people, one being my beautiful wife, Kelly, who's here with me today. And it wasn't really talked about. I was not going to be the guy talking about the glory days of football or anything else, so I didn't. In fact, Kelly probably didn't even know I was a high school athlete until all of this came up. This became even more important or true when I came back to Ottawa and reacquainted myself with old friends, and maybe partly why I haven't reconnected with others who are right here in town with me. So this weekend for me is an opportunity to purposely and wholeheartedly let down my guard, get together and talk about a simpler time with my old teammates and coaches. I was talking with Coach Yups and Tom Hart the other night, and then a small group hung out and talked after the game last night, and I was amazed with the details that they could recall. They remembered scores, individual players on other teams, particular plays they and others had made. It was pretty amazing. But those aren't the things that stuck with me. I remember how willingly people accepted their assignments, whether it was the practice squad, special teams, offense or defense. There was a pride in performing well and a true belief that everyone had a job to do. I remember the coaches and the special relationships that we created with them. And to me, it's always going to be, hey, coach, endearingly, if I see you walking down the street. I remember the locker room before the games, before and after the games. It wasn't headphones and silence. It was Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle and that damn Coolio song playing on repeat with a little Rocky soundtrack mixed in for everyone to listen to. There was a player, Ryan Bretag, kneeling in solitude to pray just before we left the locker room for kickoff. It was the routine Adam Haas and I had, putting our game jerseys on over our pads, and the nothing had to be said type of look he gave me when we were doing it. It was the delight and the upbeat energy that came with the many wins and the silence and the realization that came with it with our only loss. I remember the large standing room only crowds cheering for their sons, cheering for their team, cheering for Ottawa. I don't remember the exact game, but we had just given up a big play and were defending the goal line. I had one of those take a step back moments, looking around, and I made eye contact with a particular fan standing behind the end zone who simply clapped his hands and nodded at me, and I just knew the other team didn't have a chance. I remember certain players who had lasting impressions on me. People like Josh Watland, who didn't have to work terribly hard for it. He just had a natural strength and ability to make his opponent look foolish, get to the ball, and wreck plays. Ryan Bretag with his intensity and pure tackling ability. There were times we met at the ball carrier and he would tackle both of us. And while still tangled in the pile, we would discuss the hit so the guy could hear us laughing about it. I loved it. There was Kyle Jakubik and his dominance over the guy lucky enough to line up over him or be his assignment on that play. Many times at practice, that was me. It was Joshua Nicky and his amazing truffle shuffle. Under that extra large shirt is an extra large heart, and it makes me smile. It's El Benushi, undeniably athletic, always running his mouth. Shut up and play, Benushi. Adam Haas, the speed and ability to break the big play and then spend the rest of the night telling you about it. And of course, Ryan Nevins, the unrelenting work ethic and my true role model on the team. I remember that snowy day when the caravan rolled in and we almost did something special. We were all there together that day. It was my first true lesson on how to lose, and you need those. It's a lot of great memories. I want to take a moment and thank all of you, players, coaches, for being a part of it, and congratulations on your induction, whatever it means to you. I want to congratulate the other individuals, the Nevins family and teams also being inducted today. I would like to thank the nomination and selection committees for considering this team and giving us a chance to come and celebrate such a fun part of our lives. along with all of you who work so hard and organize the weekend's events and getting us all here to enjoy it. And you always, right, Myers, you end with a famous quote. Here's one from a true friend of mine, one of the most articulate people I know, right before I got here today. It says, tip of the day, use root, hog, or die in your speech. If the rest of it sucks, this will cover it up for you. Mr. Nick Chekowitz. Root, hog, or die. Thank you very much.
I thank you all for attending this evening's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. On behalf of the Ottawa Township High School Educational Foundation, thank you, and we hope to see you at future induction ceremonies. Please have a nice evening and drive home safely.